All right, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon. Still kind of in Hangover Monday, I think. Still reeling, but we got to plow through. We got to keep moving forward. And that means seeing what Pro Football Focus had to say about this game. So, Pro Football Focus, we're going to start with the offense, as we always do. Going to swing on over to the defense a little bit later today. But the offense, that's the side of the ball that well, we're mad at both sides of the ball right now, right? But I feel like the offense, I'm a little less mad at. I'm mad at everything right now, realistically. I'm not happy with anything, with the exception of, a handful of players across the entire roster. But the offense, I kind of get it. I get it slightly more than I get the defense. I'll put it to you that way. Before we get into the data, if you like this video, please click the like button down below. Sub to the channel if you're new and want daily Seahawks content. We're posting 5 videos a day most days. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. Okay, so let's start with just the basic offensive grades. It's mostly... Oh. Goodness me, I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's mostly what you would expect, right? Tyler Lockett leads the way. A.J. Barner across 15 snaps, which, by the way, check this out. He's on the field for almost all of the run blocking snaps, 5 out of 7, but he's only on the field for 15 snaps total. So probably what's going on here, A.J. Barner being on the field is a little bit of a tell that we're going to run the ball. So that doesn't need to be happening. I know that he's our best run blocking tight end right now with Pharaoh Brown being hurt, but this is a little. This is probably giving something away here that we don't need to be giving away. Geno Smith grades out very well, as expected. Christian Haynes, this is something that is very notable. He grades out very well in this game, significantly better than Bradford, and a lot better than Laken Tomlinson. So I know that the main reason why his grade is so high is because of his run blocking, and he only had 3 run blocking snaps compared to 15 pass blocking. But honestly, his pass blocking grade's better than Bradford's too. So, yeah, this is kind of interesting. Not what I would have expected watching that game. I thought Haynes played fine, but I didn't think he would stand out like this. But there you go. Ken Walker grades out well, which makes sense. I think he did what he could out there. There just wasn't a lot for him to do. And then the final guy who got graded out respectably by PFF on offense was Charles Cross, mostly because he got a really good pass blocking grade. Run blocking, a little bit rough. So that's kind of it for the highlights, right? Those are the guys who were graded out well. And of that group, 2 guys played less than 20 snaps, Barner and Haynes. So that's how you get to an underwhelming result. Charbonnet, 62. Mostly his pass blocking was graded out well. That was the main saving grace he had, really. Bobo, whatever. He only played 2 snaps anyway. Bradford was playable. And I should point that out, right? Yes, according to PFF, Haynes was better. But this is a playable performance from Bradford numerically. And again, we didn't run the ball nearly enough for me to get an idea of his run blocking. But look at how, completely mediocre this is. 60.6 overall, 59.1 pass block, 59.1 run block. That's viable. So, I'm going to say it again. Pick a guy and go with him the whole game. The only reason why you should be rotating offensive linemen like this, I think, is if you, as a team, decide this player A is clearly better than player B, but player A has an injury or is old and cannot handle that full workload. Then it makes sense. But I don't think that's the case here. Brady Russell, 2 snaps, whatever. Mediocre grade, nothing to say. JSN, average grade. PFF really, really has a hard time with JSN. He never scores well here, I feel like. Pharaoh Brown, 8 snaps, so it's whatever, just an anonymous grade. Not much to say. Chenault, 56.3. You're starting to now get into the guys who are a little bit below water here, below the surface of the ocean. But Chenault only played 5 snaps anyway, so whatever. And then you kind of start to uncover the reasons why this game didn't go well for the Seahawks. Connor Williams, 56.2, mostly because his pass protection was bad. Run blocking actually quite good. But 2 penalties, I mean, that doesn't need to be happening. I understand him not playing that well right now. He's still trying to come back from the injury, but geez. You can't be committing penalties like that. You're the veteran. If it comes from Stone Forsythe, then whatever. He's not very good anyway. I know that. Forsythe's doing the best that he can, but Connor Williams can do better than this. But then you have a guy like Laken Tomlinson, who also doesn't grade out very well. But look at this. Pass blocking, they actually gave him a really good grade. Run blocking, and granted over 7 plays, was atrocious. And this is part of the problem. It's not enough to just run the ball. You need to run the ball well. And maybe part of the problem is that when Laken Tomlinson, a guy who is here only because he can run block, isn't run blocking effectively on the reps you give him, I think it's a little bit easier to panic and abandon the run. So I don't know what's going on there. I mean, when you look at something like this, and Laken Tomlinson's killing it with the pass blocking, but getting mauled in run blocking, and I know it's a small sample size, right? I get it. It's a little easier to understand why they might have completely abandoned the run. Same with a guy like Cross. Cross scores out well in pass protection, run blocking a disaster. DK Metcalf ranks very low, which makes sense, mostly just because of the fumble. But he also had some other plays where, by the way, I was looking at some of the receiver charts, and man, Deonte Banks played an incredible game, not just against Metcalf. He didn't allow much of anything in that whole game. Nothing of real merit, nothing of weight. So credit where credit's due, but obviously we need better from our best playmaker. Noah Fant, very, very anonymous. We're paying him too much money for this. We're paying him too much money for him to be a complete non-factor. I don't know. At this point, like, I understand that they wanted a playmaking tight end in this offense. I get it. But you could have gotten an athletic TE1 for a lot less money than Fant and be getting similar production. I'm sorry, but it's time to wonder what was the process behind that. And part of the problem is the offensive line. I get that. And by the way, the one guy on the offense that was graded out terribly was, of course, Stone Forsythe. 30.9. Horrible pass protection, horrible run blocking, so it's all bad. 2 penalties. I know that's part of the stitch-up, but there are teams out there with really bad offensive lines that are still getting the ball to their tight end some. Like, come on. All right, so passing chart, Geno Smith's passing chart, it's pretty much what you would expect. I do find it interesting that he was favoring the left side of the field in this game instead of the right. So that, I guess, that goes to show you that he's balanced and capable of throwing the ball anywhere. But the place that he lives is the short middle of the field, which, if there's anything that I like right now with this team, if there's anything I like from the offense coming from this game, it's that. Geno Smith pounds the middle of the field, 15 attempts, 12 completions, 110 yards. That's the kind of stuff I like to see. That's the kind of stuff that excites me. It tells me that we are moving past the Pete Carroll offenses that hated the middle of the field. And we've seen this week after week after week now. Now, it wasn't the greatest game for the passing offense, although I would say we actually hit a couple of plays deep left. 2 for 3 for 55 yards. The one incompletion came on that final drive when we were trying to come back and win or tie or whatever. So, that's cool. But we're pounding the middle of the field. And we're continuing to have non-trivial success on passes behind the line of scrimmage. Not great success, but some. So I'm pretty encouraged by some of this stuff here, for whatever that's worth. There's not a lot to be happy about right now with this team, but this is nice. This, on the other hand, we're not even going to spend too much time on this page because we ran the ball so little it doesn't matter, but you can see, like, 1 attempt off left end, 1 attempt up the, what is this, the, is that C gap? The left guard gap? I think that might be, like, D gap. Middle right, which would be, I think, A gap, 5.5 yards a carry. Right guard, that's the one place we actually didn't have success. -1 yard, a loss of 1. Right? Like when you look at these numbers, by the way, it becomes even more infuriating that we didn't run the ball. We had success. 3 yards a carry, 7 yards a carry, 5.5 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry. Forget about the QB scrambles. They don't really matter here. They're not even planned. They're not even organized like that. But right guard was the one gap where we didn't see success. Like, you look at this and you're like, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Why'd we not run? All right. So moving on, because that's really all there is to look at on this page because it's so sad. Pass protection, looking at some of these numbers from PFF here. Not the worst, honestly. Like, you look at these pass protection grades, a lot of guys did fairly well. Unfortunately, some of the guys that did fairly well only got a few reps at it. Like, Cross and Tomlinson were the two guys who really did well in pass protection. By the way, that's not to say they did perfectly. Cross did give up 3 pressures. Tomlinson gave up a sack and a QB hit. So there are still issues. And in true pass sets, you have Tomlinson doing a lot worse. So there is a little bit of smoke and mirrors there, I think. But it is worth noting those two guys did well. Charbonnet, Russell, Brown, Barner got only a few chances at it each, and they did fine. But then you start to see the problem down here, right? The guys who are taking up most of the pass protection snaps, like Connor Williams and Stone Forsythe taking up 50 each, the combined efforts of the right guard getting 50 total, it's not great. Haynes is average. Bradford's about average. Walker, whatever. It's 4 reps, but average. Fan average. But Connor Williams and Stone Forsythe, Forsythe, 5 pressures allowed in this game, which doesn't terribly surprise me. But unlike the Lions game, where I felt like it was understandable, it's a little less understandable now, right? Now, granted, I'm still anything anybody's going to say is going to make me kill Stone Forsythe because he's a third stringer, and it is what it is. But man, we this continues to be a problem that we can't game plan around. That's the thing that's frustrating right now. We're not doing a good enough job game planning around the fact that Stone Forsythe can't block. So Connor Williams gives up a sack, and that's it. But that was enough to give him a low grade. And I think there were some other plays where he didn't necessarily give up pressure, but it was still bad. Bradford, 1 sack, 1 hurry. Christian Haynes, 1 sack allowed. So it's really the sacks that take the wind out of your sails, right? Because 15 pressures allowed total on 50 dropbacks is really not bad. Remember, this is PFF. This is not PFR. And this is where I'll give a little bit of it to Gino. He took more sacks than he usually does. And you can see some of the sacks he took are not even on this list. So what that tells you is that Gino didn't do a great job getting the ball out like he usually does. Not to say that he played a bad game. I don't think that he did at all. I think he's one of the few things keeping us competitive in a game like this. But this tells you that in that area, maybe he was pressing a little bit. There was probably some frustration building. And run blocking, not that it means anything because we basically didn't run the ball. We still run zone a little bit more than we run gap, which I like, which I think makes sense. But again, the sample size is so small, who even cares? Like, what are we doing here? Like 4 zone blocking snaps and 2 gap snaps. Like, what are we going to learn something from that? No. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. More stuff coming soon. But, yeah, not great. We're not happy, guys. This is not what we signed up for. This is not what we want. And we got to get better. All right. Go Hawks.